Have you seen the Hatman? He shows up without a sound and only appears when it's pitch black. He wears a hat and has a cape or coat about his shoulders. No one knows why he comes or where he'll show up. Today, on Homespun Haints, after we talk to Marjorie, you yourself might ask, who is the Hatman? And have you seen the Hatman? Welcome to Homespun Haints. I'm Becky.
And I'm Diana.
And today Marjorie is joining us from Alabama, correct, Marjorie?
That's right, just north of Birmingham.
So have you lived in Birmingham your whole life? Or
No, I was born in Gary, Indiana. We moved down here, and I grew up in Hueytown, which is where all the race car drivers are from. And my story actually takes place in Alabama, in South Alabama. But yeah, I mean, I've lived here long enough to acquire a pretty thick accent, I think. So
I hear that, yes.
Rebecca, we were at one point related.
Yeah.
Kind of an auntie.
Auntie Marjorie.
Cool. All right, Auntie Marjorie.
Well, it's the South. It's the South. I always say you've either dated or you're related. Both. Sometimes it's both.
You're recording this. Oh my God.
Yes, we are. We are. Your reputation precedes you. I've heard amazing things about your story and your storytelling abilities. So I am excited to hear.
Okay. Yeah. What about cussing?
Cussing is fine. That's absolutely
encouraged.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are some oh shit moments. Yeah. I'm just one of those people that I just have a lot of weird coincidences happen, and I don't go looking. I really want to make that clear that I'm real skeptical. I'm a real cynic about supernatural stuff a lot, and I don't go looking for it. I'm not a ghost hunter. I don't seek it out. And my family has had some really odd psychic type moments between my mother, my sister, and I. I think there's some Roma gypsy back in there somewhere. Well, I'll just go ahead and get to the story. It was our first vacation with my family to Gulf Shores, Alabama, down on the beach. It was my dad, my mom, my brother, and my sister. My brother's 3 years older. My sister is 11 months younger. And we went to stay with my parents' friends who had a house, not on the beach, but actually a couple miles back from the beach in what they call like the canal neighborhood. And this is going to come up again later on in the story. There's a canal that runs part through the town, and they had just started building. And by the way, this is like 1975. I was like 14, 15 years old. They were developing that area at the time we were there. So there wasn't street lights. There weren't a lot of ambient light. It's really dark at night out there. And actually, this was the first night that we spent in this house with this other couple that was my parents' friends. And we'd been out all day in the sun. We're all exhausted. And when it comes time to go to bed, my sister and I are on a rollaway bed. My brother is on a couch at the foot of that rollaway bed. And I don't know why there was a coffee table between the couch where my brother was sleeping and the rollaway bed. My sister is on the right. There's a wall to my left with a little bit of room. And I remember thinking, if I have to get up and use the bathroom, I'm going to have to either crawl over to my sister, or I'm going to have to scooch across that coffee table, which might be kind of fun. But for some reason, that coffee table was left between that. And there was only like about 3 or 4 inches between that coffee table and the couch where my brother was sleeping and the rollaway bed. My sister's to my right, and everybody settles down for the evening. All the lights are turned out. I'm laying there. I'm probably thinking about like whatever rock star crush I had at that time, like trying to figure out how to become Mrs. Iggy Pop or Todd Rundgren. And I'm just laying there, and it's dark. I mean, all I can see is dark shapes on dark. That's all I can describe it. Because I said, there's no street lights. There's nothing. And to my left, at the corner of the bed, I see a figure. And I think it's my brother. Now, I was kind of a delinquent, I was just a teenage smoker. And he smoked too. And I thought, well, he's getting up to go smoke. I was like, Tim. I started like going, I want to bum a menthol cigarette off you. Tim, that's my brother's name. And he didn't answer. And then I looked over and I saw his figure lying on the couch. Well, I knew I had been in the sun all day, and I went, okay, this is my imagination. I laid back down, and like I said, the only way I can describe this is that it was just different shades of black or different shades of dark. And it was a figure to my left standing there. He had on a hat and an overcoat, and it was just different shades of dark. And it came towards me, and I'm still thinking, wow, my imagination's working overtime. And I really did not, I just thought I was seeing things because I'm an artist, and I figured my imagination was going and being out in the sun. And it bent down and got about 6 inches from my face. And I could actually see the outline. I could see the details. And like I said, once again, this is just black on shades, I guess, dark gray, just different shades of dark to give it definition. And I saw the profile, and it was a man. He had a hawk nose. I could see his eyes. The closest person I can tell you it looked like was Max Schreck as Nosferatu, but not with the bulgy eyes or the eyebrows. I mean, somewhere between Max Schreck as Nosferatu and Gabriel Byrne in Miller's Crossing. I know that's strange. Look it up. Big nose, fleshy lips, but it's still just dark. It's just black. And I put my hand out, and there's nothing there. And when you're in a room and it's totally quiet, you hear breathing, or you hear the rustling of clothes or footsteps. There's a smell. There's, you've got noise coming from that living thing. There's nothing. There's nothing. Not one sound, nothing. I put my hand out. It just went right through it. I didn't feel a cold spot or anything like that. It was just nothing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm imagining things. He put his hand in my face, like inches from my face, and sort of waved it in front of my face. And I went, well, that's just, what am I thinking? I just kept batting at the air. It's nothing there. So I'm like, okay, well, that's odd. I'm going to try and go to sleep. Well, it stood up. And I saw it go around. It went around, and then it started going right in between that little space where I said the coffee table and the end of the rollaway bed was. You would have to scooch through, and if it was a person, it would have bumped the bed, and, it had to get through only like 3 or 4 inches. And I watch as he goes around to my sister's side of the bed, and she's got her back to me. And he leans over, and he puts his hand in front of her face, and she starts screaming. And I'm like, oh shit, she's seeing it too. And she scrambles and turns on the light, and she starts describing exactly what I just saw. There's nobody in the room. Of course, my brother's like, what are you idiots screaming about? He's woken up. My parents and their friends, they come running in. They check the doors. Everything's locked from the inside. There's no windows open. There's no way nobody could get in. There's nobody in the house. They checked the house. And the thing was gone as soon as the light was on. But my sister started, he had a hat, he had a coat. I saw him with a sort of fedora and an overcoat. And I'm going to read you. I texted my sister about this. I was like, do you want to get in on this interview? And this was her response. She said, this is her text. She said, Lord, trying to forget that one. Can still see it as if it was yesterday. That top hat and cape putting its hand in my face. Jesus help me, with 2 or 3 exclamation marks. Now, she saw a top hat and a cape. I saw a fedora and overcoat. Now, I didn't think anything about this at all. I mean, I thought, okay, we saw a ghost, I guess. Oh, and my mother at the same time when this was going on, she was having a nightmare where she saw this black mist in the house, and all she could see was a hand coming around a doorway. So she was freaked out too, okay? So, and you're thinking, what is this? I got to try and enjoy the rest of my vacation. I got to sleep in this house tomorrow night because my parents are, they're not going to leave. They're going to think we're stupid little girls or whatever. And so, sleeping the next night was just like, didn't happen. But yeah, my sister pretty much described, I mean, the fact that he bent down, he put his hand in her face, waved it, which is so odd. So let's cut to years later. And I've always wondered, like, what was that? Why did it visit me? It's always bothered me. And I reconnect to a friend of mine that lives in Gulf Shores that I hadn't talked to in a while. And I said, oh, where are you living now? She said, Gulf Shores. And I pretty much went, oh, lol, I saw a ghost down there one time. And she typed back, was it in the Canal neighborhood? Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah. And she says, dark guy wearing a hat, coat. And I said, yes. And she said, yeah, there's been a few people who have experienced that. I have a friend I can put you in touch with. Y'all can talk about that if you want to. I was too freaked out. And then a friend of mine sends me, like, there's this movie that's been made. And then I start, like, in the last year or two, finding all this stuff on the internet about something. They call it different things, like the Hatman, Phantom Hatman, shadow people, all that kind of stuff. And in fact, I think Ranker had something, it was the Phantom Hatman, if you do search, and it says fedora, top hat, cape, trench coat is how people see. Now, while my sister saw something maybe a little different than I do, I don't know why that happened. But as a skeptic, I was just like, well, okay, what could this possibly be? I mean, I'm at a loss. And I don't want to see again. I'm not going to go looking for it. I'm glad that it's kind of hanging out down in Gulf Shores. That's fine with me. But I do get nervous when I go down there because I do go down there occasionally and I still like, So somebody had written about it, I saw last year, and they attributed to that people have seen it with sleep paralysis where they can't move. And I'm like, well, no. I mean, I was sitting up, I was putting my hand out. And then, of course, you've got my sister seeing it. So how could that possibly? So that kind of wrecks that theory because it happened right as I saw it go over and bend over her. So, theories?
Wow. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I was thinking that, like, sleep paralysis, well, most people who experience sleep paralysis, which we've had one woman on the show already who talked in depth about her sleep paralysis experience, but most people see demons. Like, there's a huge proportion of people who express that when they have sleep paralysis, they see something they explain as a demon or a dark, shadowy figure that feels menacing or evil. But nobody's ever said to me anyway that during sleep paralysis they could put their hand out and try to touch that. Right. Because you're supposed to be paralyzed. That's the point. Right. So that totally debunks that idea, I think, personally.
Well, plus the fact that, like, me and my sister had sleep paralysis at the same time. I mean, and the fact that we had this nice kind of Rashomon thing where I saw it from my perspective, she saw it from her perspective, and she started screaming. I mean, and she scrambled for the light when that thing put its hand out on her. And I mean, it's like, so that, I mean, that's what did it for me. If it had not done that and my sister had not seen it, to this day, I would have gone, man, that was just my imagination. So but because of her, I'm like, oh shit, I saw that.
with your sister, did it wake her up, or did something like you gasping wake her up?
Yeah,
she wasn't asleep.
Okay. She was just laying there. I mean, honestly, the lights went out, and it was probably maybe 20 minutes after the lights went out. So it wasn't like in the middle of the night. It's like we're just laying there trying to get sleep, and we're exhausted, but it's a new place. We've never been to the beach before, so it took us a little while to settle down. So it was like 20, 25 minutes somewhere in there. Waiting to try and fall asleep that this happened. And she wasn't asleep. So I guess, we had very different tastes in music, so she was probably dreaming of or thinking of Dan Fogelberg or Jackson Browne or some shit. I mean, it's like...
Okay. So you were both kind of awake, drifting off to sleep. You saw this figure, and then you saw the figure go over to your sister. Was your sister conscious of you being scared, or
no, she had her back to me, and I thought she was asleep, but she said no, she wasn't. She was laying there trying to go to sleep. I was laying on my back, just kind of laying there like, okay, thinking about whatever. And that's when I saw it. And because I wasn't scared, I didn't make any noises or go, or, I mean, she had no idea. I guess she thought maybe I was asleep too, but neither of us were. But I really think it's interesting that she saw a different hat, which is really strange. Maybe she doesn't know what a fedora is. I don't know, but I don't know. But the way she said it was a top hat and a cape, and I said no. It was a fedora and a trench coat. That's what it looked like to me. And that's what's so weird is like when you look it up, and that's what people see. It's really bizarre, and it's really frightening to me that there is like an actual website devoted to this for people to write in and describe and I haven't gone there because I'm too scared to look at it, to be honest. I just kind of don't want to know in a way.
Would you be able to send us that link so that we can
yeah, sure,
on our website?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called the Hatman Project.
I'm curious if this particular phenomenon is strictly for that, canal neighborhood.
They say that it's been seen all over. In fact, I had a friend that was a lawyer, and he was on his honeymoon, and they were in Venice, Italy, and he had a very similar experience. He saw the dark shadow man standing over his bed, and he went to get his wife, and she had to put on her glasses, and it just took too long, and it was gone. So, they turned on the light, it was gone. And he's very, he doesn't believe in anything, but he told me about that.
You said that he put his hand in front of your face and then in front of your sister's face, and this is commonly reported that he puts his hand in front of your face, but why do you feel like he did that?
See, I don't know. It was like he waved it. It's like he put it in my, like, are you awake? And it's like, well, yeah. I thought it was a very odd ghost thing to do. I don't really know what ghosts do, except like Scooby-Doo ghost or something, but they and all that. But yeah, it's like he put his hand in my face and waved it. I've come up with some really weird theories, like, okay, so he's in another dimension, and do we appear asleep to him? I've had people go, well, you guys had a shared dream. Or I keep going, hey, I wasn't asleep because I was trying to bum a cigarette off my brother.
Yeah, exactly. And a shared dream is still kind of a paranormal experience if you think about it.
Well, yeah, I know psychic, but the fact that it has been seen down there, and from what I can gather, been seen around the world.
So you don't feel like this was a haunted house. You feel like this was an experience that happens to people all over. It had nothing to do necessarily with Gulf Shores or that specific vacation house.
Man, I don't know. We spent a week there, and nothing happened again. And then we went back and spent the night in that house again. I was thrilled to do that, and nothing happened. So it was the only time I've ever seen anything like that. It's never occurred again. Now, while you're doing research, if you do come across Shadow Man, that's a Steven Seagal movie. So you want to of course, if you woke up and saw Steven Seagal or something in your room, that would be really scary too. But just like, okay, that's that Steven Seagal movie. Move along.
The Hatman Project. Okay,
Hatman
we're
Project.
looking for that. We'll definitely put the links in the commentary.
Or Phantom Hatman, I know is a good one, and that's a Ranker article. According to the internet, this thing's prolific and it's all over the place, and there's a bunch of them, and I'll be curious if you get more people contacting you about this.
Do you think there was a reason it skipped over your brother and went to your sister to put his hand
I think he was asleep. Because when I was whispering his name, I was going, damn, like that was going, he was like, you know what I'm saying? Okay. He would have gone, shut up, if he'd heard me. Like, no, you can't buy a damn cigarette. I would have heard something from him. And since he didn't say anything, I'm going to assume he was just, or he could have been ignoring me. but he had his back turned facing the couch, so he would not have seen it.
So he maybe wasn't attractive to the Hat Man because he was asleep and you and your sister was still dozing off.
Well, yeah, maybe so. But I don't know. I mean, he was really gassy. So
so
I drew you guys a diagram that I was going to email you that has the position of the beds and everything, and I actually have stink lines coming from my brother. So
that's hilarious. And he's not here to defend himself, so we'll go ahead and post that.
Well, that's for all those times. I got to get back at him for all those times he sat on me and farted. So.
Nice.
I got to take that opportunity, y'all, you know?
So, okay, I just have one more question.
Okay.
What do you think, in your imagination, which is admittedly creative, what do you think might have happened if your sister had not turned on the light?
Oh, I don't know. He obviously did not get a result, I guess. It's like with the hand waving thing, he just glided over just around that bed. And why he didn't glide over it, he went around. I don't know what that was about. Went around and stood there and bent over and stuck his hand out and waved. And had she not done that, I mean, who knows? I'm skeptical, but if you delve into this Shadow Man hat thing, you will see somewhere people have claimed that they actually have been physically attacked. I've gone through all the theories I can in my head. Aliens, government experiments. I mean, I don't know. And if it's aliens, I'm kind of jury's out on that one too. Although I do have a UFO story. Well, it was with my mom. It was with my mom again. And we had this poodle named Fudgy that would have to go out to pee at weird times. And it was like 1 a.m. And I was up and my mom heard my mom outside and she called through my window and she said, Margie, come out here. Come out here quick. I said, So I went out there and she goes, look at that star. And I looked and I was like, well, there's a bunch. Which one? She said, the one that's acting weird. And I looked and it was a star. It was obviously like way the hell up there. And it was darting around. I mean, it was like there and then it would like, boom, it'd move over here and stay for a little bit. And then boom, it'd move somewhere else and stay a little bit. And I was like, well, that's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen besides that guy in Gulf Shores. And she was like, what is it? And I was like, Mama, I don't know. She goes, well, it's not a plane because it's moving like really fast and really weird and it's stopping. And it was obviously not like a lightning bug or anything. I mean, you could tell it was way the hell up there like a star. And me and my mom stood there and watched that thing for a while. And then it just kind of like, phew, went off. And that was it. And we're like, well, I guess we saw a UFO. What's next? My mom's really cool about stuff like that. So she's just like, well, there you go.
Well, back to your mother. You said she had a dream about something ominous happening while you had your encounter with the Hat Man in Gulf Shores.
I talked to her about that. She said she had this terror in the dream and there was a mist going through the house and she saw a hand creeping around like the door frame, like it was coming in, but she didn't see the body. She only saw the hand, which is really weird because we had hands in our face. I don't know what that's about, but yeah. And then our screaming woke her up because when my sister started screaming, I started screaming too. It was kind of like John Goodman, the other guy in Raising Arizona, were like, you know. Man, she's kind of locked in. Like I said, the women in the family we've each had like really strange, you know. Like I said, it's not something we go looking for. It's like, oh, that just happened. Well, that's surprising. It freaks us out when it happens, but occasionally it happens. I'll dream somebody has died and now I wake up and my mom's calling me and goes, hey, blah, 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 died. And it was the person I was dreaming about.
Wow. Does that sort of thing happen a lot?
No, I mean, that happened once. That's what I'm just saying. It's like stuff happens. It's real sporadic. Doesn't happen all the time. It's just something really unexplainable happens. You're just like, we do get a little freaked out. We're like, oh, it happened again. Okay. We just kind of go on until it happens. We're like, oh, no, there it is again. Oh, well. Yeah. And it's really, it's not like, we don't get lottery numbers or disasters. It's like my mom dreamt some woman got her teeth fixed. The next day she goes to the convenience store where she works and the woman's got dentures. I mean, it's like, I'm saying? It's like really mundane kind of thing. Well, I guess the guy dying was not mundane.
Oh man. Okay. So that happens in my family too. And it also always seems to be like really mundane shit. I think the weirdest one was once when I was in college, my mother called me out of the blue to tell me about a dream she had where in the dream, I had been trying to stuff a flamingo into a small car. And she's like, I mean, my mom never called me, right? This is really weird that she called me and she said, that was such a weird dream because you don't have a car and what would you be doing with a flamingo in Chicago? And as she's telling me this dream, I'm looking at the giant wooden and cloth flamingo I had just acquired. It's taking up a good bit of floor space in my tiny apartment. And it got there because I stuffed it. I mean, like really had to stuff it into my friend's tiny little Geo Metro. And we drove it up to my apartment. And then we had to get it up the stairs. And I'm like, Mom, well, guess what?
Nice. Completely useless psychic abilities. Running family.
Useless psychic abilities. Worst superheroes ever.
So this thing with your mom, does it extend beyond dreams?
My mom, sometimes I'll text her and I'll go, hey, I need to know something. She'll go, no. And I'll be like, wait, what? And she'll go, no, I haven't seen your brother. And I'm like, that's what I was going to ask you.
She's like a magic angel.
Me out. Yeah, and when we were kids, she would hold up cards, to see how many we could guess. And my sister at one point was really very good at it. I think maybe you're tuned in, but you don't really go seek that kind of stuff out. There's stuff out there that you don't want to mess with. I think that maybe me and my sister were tuned into this thing, and maybe we got on its radar somehow, and it went, oh yeah, they'll see me. I'll go to this house. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm just trying to come up with theories.
So at the beginning of the show, you said that you knew other people who had seen this thing as well, like somewhere in Italy.
Venice, Italy.
Offline, you mentioned to me you had another close friend, or rather, your husband has a close friend who had a similar encounter with the hatman.
He had a figure that would stand over his bed as a child.
And it was in Florida.
It was in Florida. Now, there are two types of shadows. They're saying there's like the shrouded figure and there's the hat-wearing figure. And his was the shrouded figure. Tim, would you like to take the mic?
Yeah. All right, cool.
He's from Tampa.
It's from the Tampa, Petersburg area. And their family got sort of thrust into sort of a chaotic situation because his mother died when he was 8 years old, and he stayed with relatives and stuff, and then that was kind of going on for a while. Anyway, he is a no-nonsense person, and he doesn't believe in ghosts or any kind of balderdash like that. There was a house when he was a child. He stayed in this particular house in the Tampa area, and he was plagued for a certain amount of time by these terrible kind of waking nightmares where he would be in his bed and this shrouded dark figure would come and loom over him. And he was in a sleep paralysis type of situation. Anyway, he grew up and he moved out and did all this stuff. When he was still a young man, he ended up going back to visit relatives in Tampa, and he ended up going back and staying in that same house. And he had really forgotten about the whole thing. He had put all of that behind him. It was a different world, a different past. And there he was back in that house again. He was an adult. He was sleeping in that house again, and he had the same experience. And this shrouded figure came in and loomed over him. And the ending of this is really weird. Anyway, so he was reacquainted with this terror of having this shrouded figure that was seemingly was like a woman, a shrouded woman that would come and just loom over him, and he was terrified and he couldn't move. So it happened again after all these years, and the next day there was a pair of baby shoes next to the bed that no one could identify or account for why those were there.
What? Baby shoes?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's super creepy.
Isn't it?
Oh no.
Yeah, and then I have a friend that saw a ghost train with 2 other people. That was really strange. I was like, y'all are tripping. And I was like, no, we weren't, because they were known to do that, but they were not tripping. And he said it was him and 2 other people, and they sat there and watched this ghost train go by.
That's hilarious. No, not this time we weren't tripping. Because last time, this time was a real ghost train.
Well, we went back there. He took me back there. It was on this place called Mad Dog Road. It's like, yeah, it's awesome. Of course, you can spook yourself out real easy.
Mad Dog. That was a rite of passage. You haven't gotten to Mad Dog.
Mad Dog Road, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that was like when I was an adult. We went down there looking for it. We were drinking. Let's go to Mad Dog Road. That's where I saw that ghost train. Of course, after half a bottle of rum, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I ain't scared.
You got any other questions?
I think that covers it, right, Becky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fantastic story. Thank you, Marjorie.
2 creepy instances of the Hat Man. Well, 3 if you count Venice.
Sure. Like I said, just because my sister saw it, that's the only reason I believe it. And it makes me open to supernatural stuff happening. Instead of going, no, that couldn't happen, there's always going to be that question mark because that happened. For the rest of my life, I'll wonder.
Well, anybody listening to this story right now, if you've had your own experience with the Hat Man, please share your experience in the comments so that Marjorie doesn't feel so intimidated and singled out. Just give us your experience so that we can add that to the collection of Hatman stories, I guess, which are prevalent throughout the entire world now.
Oh, it's really great talking to you guys.
Thank you, Marjorie. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for considering me and doing this. This was great fun.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. That's our show today. Please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. You can visit our site at homespunhaints.com for extra fun links and stories pertaining to this week's episode. Be sure to follow our Facebook page at Homespun Haints and follow us on Instagram at Homespun Haints. If you want to join the Homespun Haints community and see additional images or videos or whatever other weird stuff we decide to post that week. Sometimes it's just a picture of one of us in zombie makeup.
Thank you. And until next time, I hope the Hat Man doesn't visit you. But if he does, have a spooky day.